Here we are within the home screen of Windchill. Today we're going to be talking about a bolt-on module known as Project Link. Project Link is a sandbox environment that offers secure collaboration as well as project management tools. You'll notice in the upper left-hand corner we are signed in under Peter, the project manager, who has multiple projects under him. In order to access projects in the first place, you must be able to select on the clipboard for the recent projects. We'll be working with the i880 front flip assembly, but before we get into that, I would like to show you how you go about creating a new project within Windchill. In order to do so, you must have the access rights to be able to create a new project based off of how your IT administrator sets up your system. So in order to create a new project, we come over to the clipboard, and you'll see that we have the ability to quickly find a shared team within the system that's already existing. If you don't have that, you can start from scratch and add in new members. We'll get into that shortly. And you can fill in all of the different attribute information for the members to see as they go about joining into this project. You'll see that we have the ability to start the project immediately upon creation, whether that's a manually controlled or automatically controlled type of project is your decision. So now that we've seen how to create a new project, let's go back to the navigator once more, and we will see that we have the i880 front flip assembly. If we select on that and expand upon it, you will see that we have a list of different items that we can select from. If we go into the details, you will see that we have attribute information as well as system attribute information that might be pertinent to users that are a part of this project. If we go to the actions, you will see that we have different actions that we can perform right from the screen, such as creating a new part or multiple parts, depending on how you want to set that up. We also have the ability, I like to highlight the ability to save as a new project. So if you create a project from scratch and you want to use that as a template moving forward, you can save as a new project or save as template, and that can be used further on down the line. And I can show you how that would work out later on in the demonstration. Moving forward, I'd like to focus next on the folders page. The folders page is quite important within Windchill Project Link because of the amount of collaboration you're going to have with other suppliers, manufacturers, or other vendors that are going to be accessing this sandbox environment. So you'll see that we have our designs and our front flip assembly already opened. This is a Windows Explorer type of folder format. You'll see over in the folder contents, we have the contents laid out in a fairly easy to understand format. So if we were to take a look at what's existing in this folder, you'll see that there is an icon that lets you know that this is currently shared from PDM. So all of the existing information in this table is being shared from PDM currently. And so that means that this information was existing within the Windchill PDM link environment and was then ultimately shared out to a specific project such as the i880 front flip assembly. Now this means that this is read-only for the suppliers or vendors that are going to be accessing this type of information. Even as the project manager, if I were to right-click, you will notice that I do not have any data management type of check-in or check-out privileges. Now if I wanted to, what I could do is I could right-click on this, and that would allow me to convert to PDM checkout. So as I select on that, this will then convert it from a shared object that's read-only to a PDM checked out object that allows the vendors, suppliers, or collaborators to make modifications to this data. You'll see that the status icon changes, and if we hover over that, it mentions that it is checked out from PDM. So what does this mean? This means that instead of making modifications to information that is in your internal environment or your internal PDM space, your environment there, it's going to be making modifications in only this sandbox environment, and you can basically pick and choose whether or not you want to bring that into your PDM environment or not. And the way it does that, as soon as you perform a PDM checkout, it changes the versioning scheme. So if we go to view information, you will see that the information is now A-1.1 instead of A.1 that you would see within the product environment. So now that it is A-1.1, if there were any changes that are going to be occurring, you will go to the history and you can see that information. So if this is being checked out or checked back in multiple times, you will see that history right from this page. And as the collaborators are going through those different iterations, you may not want the latest iteration to be brought back into your PDM environment, so you can pick and choose which iteration you want to work with and pull information in. So if we go back to our folder, you'll notice that it is still on the PDM checkout, but what if I wanted to send that back to PDM because there have been changes that have been made, that has been checked out and checked back in? So what we can do is we can right click on that and we can perform the send to PDM. So as we select on that, you will see that we are prompted with the sending to the PDM environment. So now that it has been modified, we can then go in and select finish. And once that has completed, you will see that it has now been changed to the status of shared from PDM. And if we were to select on the information here, you will see that it has been iterated and has been checked in from project I-880 front flip assembly. That is done automatically for you when you perform the send to PDM action from Project Link. Okay, so let's go back to the folders here once more. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the security of these parts within this folder. So not only you can pick and choose whether you're sharing or you're having it checked out for modification, we can also add in more security. So if we wanted to, we could select on the folder. So we have the front flip assembly. We can go down to the edit access controls, and that will bring up the context of the front flip assembly folder. If we enlarge that, we now see that we have the team access that we have to this folder. Now some of these may be grayed out because that's being pushed down from the top level, site level of Windchill. So that IT administrating org will overwrite what we have here currently. But some of these are not grayed out. So this will allow us to say we want our OEM to download, modify, and modify content. You can easily do that, and we call this basically added security on top of what we have in place already. So in order to use Windchill in the first place, you must sign in and authenticate in, but you also get added level security on this folder, and you can get even more granular if you wanted to propagate this information down into the lower level components that reside within those folders. Okay, so that's some added security. If we cancel on that, we can also see that we have the ability to right click on the specific component and edit the access controls on a more granular level. So you can do so here. Much of the same, but you're now on the context of the rotating hinge assembly instead of the folder. And so that, again, just added security within Project Link, so you know your information, your IP, your intellectual property is safe, and they're not able to change anything you don't want them to change. You're only putting information out there for them to work with, not all of your internal products, all of your internal data that you don't necessarily want them tinkering with. Okay, so that is the sandbox environment, only putting in the information that you want to be there. You also have the ability to create a new part within the Project Link environment. So you can create a new part here, and we'll say, just to fill this out very quickly, we will say that the name will be demo, and we can finish that up. So once we create that part, we will see that the demo part is only residing within the project environment. It is not residing in the PDM environment as well. So what you can do from that standpoint is you can create new products or whatever you want to do. You can do so. You can create new projects and toy around and tinker around with different ideas before you ever bring them into the PDM environment. And in order to do so, you can right click on the you can right click on the gear or the part that we just created, and we can send that to PDM once we feel as though that product is mature enough or the project has come to the point where it is completed and can be sent to PDM in that regard. So you can have basically this sandbox that acts as a new product initiative space where you can toy around and think about new products, as well as the supplier and collaborator type of space. One other thing I will mention about this information listed out here, so these folders, you can have multiple different suppliers coming into this area, but basically what you can do is you can have it so one supplier, supplier A, will only see supplier A folder, supplier B will only see supplier B folder, etc. Alright, so that is basically the security in the folder area in which you're going to be collaborating with your other vendors. Now moving on to our plan. So this is the second portion, or the second idea of our project link type of environment, and this is for our project planning, project execution, project management tool. So you see we have our attribute information, our schedule, whether you can see, well, we have about 51% work complete. We need to look at ways that we can get that done faster. You see the preferences as well as the system attribute information. And right from here, you can select on actions. You can see that you can view this in the Gantt Explorer. You can view a capacity report. You can export this plan directly from Windchill. You can import the plan from Windchill, or excuse me, a Microsoft project plan. You have that functionality, that capability. And really what this allows you to do is basically build out your whole entire plan within Microsoft Project and then import that into Windchill, and that would act as more so your execution planning, so that you know that all of your users are going to be on task within your project. If we go into our schedule, you will see that we have our information being populated as to what needs to be done. You can expand all of these to see exactly what what is going on currently, how we're looking, and you can see what needs to be done in order to complete this project. So we can keep on expanding by level, and you'll see that we have each of the different things that need to be completed. So if you hover over, we have deliverables, we have different milestones that need to be met, we have summary activities, and we also have the ability to have predecessors. So in order for the project initiation complete to be done, number one needs to be done first. The project needs to be initiated, and you have these different predecessors that allow for basically sequencing and stage gates to be implemented into the project plan. So once you go through all these, you can make sure that you're on task, and you can understand whether or not this is a critical path. In order to view this in a more visual light, you can go into the Gantt Explorer, and this will pull up a visual cue as to what you're going to be looking at for the project completion. If we zoom out, we can see the full project plan, and we can open these up to see information. And it's just a more visual way to take a look at what's going on, how everything's stacking up, and whether or not you believe that you'll be able to complete this project in the given time span. Very interactive way to approach this. Okay, and then it's as easy as being able to add in new activities. You can add in new multiple activities if you know you're going to be adding in a bunch. You can go in, you can indent, you can outdent some of these depending on that. You can expand and collapse. We've already taken a look at that. You can create a new baseline for your plan, whether you want to start at a specific point, and you can export as a template or save as a template so that you can work with this information more so in the future. Really all about reuse. Okay, so that is the plan. Next up, we're going to take a look at who makes up this project team, who is going to be a part of this team, who has what roles within this team, who has what access depending on what role they have. So here's our team page for this specific project, i880 front flip assembly. You'll notice that we have our different roles and the members that belong to each of those roles. So we have Peter, the product manager, who is the project manager for this one, who I'm signed in under currently, and you have other users that are added in here as well. How do you go about adding in other members? Well, we call this the self-administration. So we can easily add in members that are existing within our internal organization, or we can add in users that are outside of our organization. All we would need is their email address. We can add that in here, or if they're internal, you can add in their full name and be able to add that right within the screen. So what you would do is you go ahead and once you found somebody you'd like to add in, then you add them over to the participant list, and you can assign them to a specific role. Now you see that some of these, we have these out-of-the-box roles within Windchill, and you can see you can easily assign them to that type of role, and that will determine the amount of access they have into this project. So somebody such as a guest is going to have a lot less access than that of a project manager. Also, you have the ability to add roles into the system itself. So these are out of the box, so these are already existing within the system, but they may or may not be within the project that we're working with. So we can go through here and add these if we wanted to, or you can also go in and add another role that isn't listed that you can add in and define that separately and add users into that role specifically. And then lastly, we can go in here within the team page, we can configure actions for roles. So this really takes away the need for IT to come in and do this, adding in members as well as changing a lot of their actions that they can perform within this project. You can do that as a project manager and really not have to rely on IT and make sure that you can do this in a timely fashion. If there's project deadlines, you don't want to have to be waiting for IT for all this information to be done. This can be done by yourself very quickly. So we have all these different checkboxes that we can work with, and you'll notice that some of these do not have checkboxes, and this is for a guest that has limited access. So this is pushed down from the top level organization of Windchill. The IT administration says, okay, well, this guest isn't going to have any of this access based off of this criteria. You could set that up, but as a project manager, we don't have the ability to check those off to be able to create or modify the team or edit access controls or anything like that. But for other users, such as maybe a manufacturer, we can pick and choose. Maybe we don't want them to edit the security labels. We don't want them to view the team page. We don't want them to be able to cut any information out or copy any information. We can pick and choose that right from the screen, and it's very granular. You can work on it in a very granular method, or you can go at a much more higher level and be able to do it that way. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the team page. Next up, we wanted to take a look at the templates. So the templates are going to be of use within the project because of the idea of being able to reuse information for existing projects as well as new and upcoming projects. So you'll see here that we have some templates already added in here, and we can easily add in a new document template if we wanted to. You'll see information that is populated that should look fairly familiar. So we can add in a new document and perform a new template that way. You can set the attributes, what you want to name it. You can upload and browse to a local file and be able to go that route and create a new template based off of that can be reused down the line within this project. What I will point out is we have the Microsoft Project Plan template that can be used to create that Microsoft project that can be imported directly into Windchill that will act as your execution system. And lastly, I wanted to take a look at the out-of-the-box reports within Windchill. So pertaining to project planning, we would open this up and you'll see that we have all of these out-of-the-box types of reports that we can work with. And if you wanted to work with those, you can just select on View Report, and that will display an overview of the information that you want to take a look at.